Hello World plan. This is a Hello World. This is for the world continuation of the world plan. Already set up, has tactically denatured. So what we make the identity of ground, identity of relativity, differential modules. Make them 10 bonded charities that are then further bonded by counter to what is really causes. Now, see, originally, still since ancient, semi-ancient times, people have been blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, real causes, on other things, and are blaming on others, and are blaming it on themselves. Because of everyone was how it made and kept victim of what, for example, forgiveness. One of the things it's very important for it because of the organized crime method against every modern nation, commonly built to keep each one blaming other things, others themselves, and then built again as modern nations. On top of that, knowing too the value between that tactically denatured identity of ground relationship to our identity of fact cheap in nature, invisible but still discernible, where and how we are evolution's course, or we are an identity of negative value nature progressions since semi-ancient times. Self-value as victims, not knowing how to react, as human fact cheap in nature, as sequence nature. These are 5 identities of sequence nature, for example, to, from, as, with, and for. Which one identity is to, from, as, with, and for itself as forever. Only the extent of this is debatable. So forever becomes a scientific value with the identity we know, but to the extent we know, and then we don't know, individually grouped and together. Now, these are agreement about what are positive and negative. Every identity, positive and negative, are relationship to identities, identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that, positive or negative. Now, value is a relation into this. Identity's nature of volume. So forgiveness is also not to give up, because no one allows the forgiveness of a quality of fact cheap in nature needed to have the sophistication to demonstrate to everyone that and how. It's recorded. It's on my Facebook page. There's people at Interbranch have been making fake Facebook pages pretending to be me, pretending to be others. As people, if you try to communicate with them, these are people already involved with racketeering acts through Wethersfield Police, through people that raised them through programs where they were involved with racketeering, human trafficking. They attach little kids. They're hurting boys and girls sickly, distinctly, in sustained ways, and sickly, non-distinctly, having been not discerned. How they're making self-valued sequence racketeering. How they're making them aware of how they're using the difference between boys and girls with physical delusions and with criminally exploited, originally and still, criminally for influence premises treatments towards such values. We have an identity racketeering that is the answer to what was slavery about. There was our it was about the fact cheaping nature of slavery of Americans' founding parents. That sick method had so many crazy laws that forced everyone to ignore such and leave a record database stack, a theater. And they put color in there. because this is the method that engineered this certain nature of volume called criminal and seditious nature. I am not a lawyer, not a police form, not a criminal. Vaccines. We by knowing what we know is true always, not denying any exceptions, not valuing them denied. See, we're going to see this map from All Weathersfield, and then there's an Anthony Yagman. I don't know if it's really him online or not. Him and Joshua Julian and Joshua Stryker recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with on-off campuses and interbranch locations, racketeering with proven child offenders and people with mail crime rolls, wire crime through time. These are people that lifted people. They're supposed to be vetting of, oh, these are agencies' identities. They have to defend their identities in relationship to sanctions treatments where hundreds of nations are in the same ancient traps where they don't have integrity. So they have to keep faking, oh, well, you guys that, well, you guys that. So they have to keep Dave, which before we get into definitions, which we won't have time here, but this about the, so what does that do? Bonding 10, which one I'm going to do with pantheism. This is a science of this identity of forever. That is the identity of value, that each identity of value progression is individually grouped and together. And science reveals that they are bonded that way distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously as an increasing nature of volume, as such as the subject and such as the verb. History is a bonded edifice of subjects, invisible but discernible, in conjunction with verbs, actual value. In course, the difference between male and female, the non-difference, and the value of that, which is increasing, which is why and in a way where and how the value of that further is important, because that's what is where and how we're automatically being an identity is positive, but it's only positive or negative in relationship to now. We're not a native system. This is a native identity. Ancients, no matter every single nation understood they were native. They had a sophistication that revealed the republic for which we stand. It is most probable that was revealed before they understood what criminal foreign influences are. But they also were led by originally the identity of relativity. Not per theory, staying on what is true always, not denying any exceptions. So the people want to keep saying offensively because they're being this is everyone's victim. We have to be able to have this debate. We have to, even the branches of government, individually grouped together. Each individual part of the body, each individual is simultaneously an individual, complete. Whereas now this identity of value progression will only stay complete. And all exceptions and exception nature is a demonstration of this. And this is how we think. I'm not a doctor. Now, this is also what I'm talking about. Webb House. It was originally called Webb House. That's proof that there was debate about the name. And that's in this context where everyone was standing criminal and seditious nature in relationship to natures of laws that were really, really sick. And if anyone, even against anyone, if they spoke about things in ways that they're not supposed to, because they have identities of nations that were sharing roles with what is laid as the pathology of this tactically denatured relationship to native ground. I'll gather around. So, for example, A, B, and C are bonded. All the letters of the English alphabet are bonded. They are sounds that have an identity of relationships to themselves, as Arabic does. The grouped value as languages. There are in the individuals are languages are valued at the same time, increasingly each at the same time. And when they're all being valued simultaneously, it's in that sequence individual first. But English is a grouped language. Arabic is a grouped language. They go together. Yin Yang is cannot be separated. All exceptions in exception nature are only in demonstration of that, which Alpha and Omega is. When you put yin yang inside capital law, for example, where we cannot draw what yin yang draws anyway. Well, as we're not, I don't know. That's my theory. But for English, in this way, sequentially, order of the finite, order of the active, order of the progressive. Or that finite, active, progressive, and another identity of sequence nature. As life is, and again, this is about where and how we are in relationship to this identity of volume. That is the identity of value to that which is self-generated, that is already generated as temporary, that was already generated and is being generated as temporary / lasting space nature. Even the neutral rock is temporary / lasting. Increased identity of forever nature. So then we have something to change the human fact sheet being able to tell people how to speak. A whisper creek. And because, but there's way more. This is the way where out of nowhere means appear. So we have depths to pull up to whatever it needs to be. One way alone could do it. See, we have what was manifest with this is also sub-manifest with it. We've been in an identity of negative value nature progression that was maintained through criminal foreign influences that, as a method that keeps reactions to it self-cultivated, originally still propagated, all identity of the ground locations in collusion with uses of them in relationship to then defenses of, well, they have to hide with all locations, areas, and states, let alone what they contain increasing as ourselves, let alone as of this, which will not change its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that unceasingly increasing. It does not leak. And the value of it is to have been it, but to stay that as its perfect memory. But see, this is through a value nature system that we're in. They tactically re-engineered the identity of the grounds relationship to the system of science which only perfects here, or when that's gone, it demonstrates it. It's been demonstrating since some ancient times, negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. They engineered wanting that to be countered, only capable of countering it wrong. Every modern nation, late semi-ancient nations, and so came messengers of semi-ancient with semi-ancient religions. Thank God, thank Allah, too, because that's as scientific value. Even if you don't believe, English is revealed to teach this. This is why L comes right next to M. You see M, N, oh, that, oh, Omega, mother and Omega, and the neutrality there. That's the female nature. This is the male nature that takes manifest because we are in it as a quality of diffusion. And where its identity of forever nature is in diffusion, coming in and out at the same time, because this is how existence wants us to see. Space has this value empty, but it's completely, constantly getting filled. Because the value of what was pushed out of it as its complete nature stays its complete nature. But by pushing that into existence, so existence is temporary / lasting. And this is pushing more into the complete identity's complete relationship to itself and the value of that, which is pushes more value into space. So it's like a generator. But so we have a human fact-achieving nature. That was all that was engineered, not physically, before this, which are also every modern nation has recorded pathology of human infrastructure of means to it. Self already long having been self-valued and defended that way, locked into it, fighting with each other. Roles with precedents and with statutes criminally for influence. They backed modern nations into and as identity of negative value nature progression. Contrast self-valued here and there for things that have nothing to do. So that's an excuse. This other thing was engineered. This is where and how and why we are to know we are a species and we are humanity simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. And we are to discern this invisible identity of relativity differentially. Value as nature and nature as value. Simultaneously, and we're making more where it is invisible but discernible, the subject and the predicate. The subject and verbs, a predicate with verbs conformed to be used as nouns. To be used, if you take a verb, okay, so in other words, there's an engineering to logic with no criminal foreign influences that makes the identity of the opinion nature in relationship to when people bring up color. So this is a trap. Because the value is to discern how there are three, how and why. There are these three. This is the value is to discern the value of the individual, group, and together. See, if we keep it other than that, they have each person locked already as a value on paper. Use formula needed to hide from and to hurt correlation nature each age of it. Not by accident, self-valuing Right there, already not by accident, already facilitated mass criminal associates natures. Already having had all these other juxtaposed motivations, Nietzsche's interest theories. They left out what was sophistication before. Already had Native Americans A through Z blaming themselves, last to fall. Native nations A through Z, modern nations, already victims. So many layers had to blame other things others than themselves for the real cause of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures that had to be countered. No one knew how to counter them. So what they did do, blame like predicate acts, like criminal insidious natures, wrongdoers, wrongdoing, mass criminal insidious natures of positive treatments. Our nature where everyone's at the same time, this is not our normal nature. So they're keeping everyone to that course. If you try to demonstrate, you have to keep assuring people that you're not. And what, in other words, in the background, people are just they're coupling how everyone is fake in real life, online, with them stacking totally fabricated racketeering with other nations, but through them grouped, locking them through disputes with other things, and to come self-valued with treatments toward they have everything bifurcated, but I believe that means separate. I don't know. I have to look at it. But in other words, we have a fact treatment nature illness that is maintained. And the way it is maintained, it is through how it is self-valued, already having been contained. Already inclusion through uses of each identity of fact treatment nature, each age of it, each location, let alone each state, each area. Vaccines. Reverse all things. See, but we have to do this. This is how we can do. I figured out. Because I saw a long time. I just as simple. Well, how come no one ever just puts a business up for those areas where you could see people stacked? Still, the narratives at the end of the whip. In other words, evolution is the answer is now, and it works with ground. See, capital A, the bottom part of it, is it grounded open, and or is it grounded a grounded bonded or grounded open relationship to this identity's identity of relationship to itself. Overall up and left to right. And then the top of the A has discerned another portion, another semi-nature, and at another height, at the full height of of the complete natures, value progression, how it is making more and more of its one identity of volume. How its one identity of volume is three identities of semi-nature, inherent, active, and progressive. And sequentially, before this as it generated as space/existence in the value progression from them, still semi-nature, but simultaneously as a complete nature, making more, keeping it more, and keeping it its native reaction nature that will only continue to stay positive unto itself. It is most probable that Earth is closest to the greatest inherent nature of volume of those three bonded identities of volume: inherent, active, and progressive. And so where and how sequentially this one identity is distinctly onto the inherent nature of volume first, this creates a bond between the active and the progressive identities of the one identity of volume we are. These three identities of volume grew from its identity, from it as its identity of relationship to itself, and as the value of that, increasing complete possession of all parts of space nature. Again, though, where value is coming in and out, and we are where we are this nature of volume as forever nature, as identity, as its identity of volume. So there are proofs that we should change the definitions of Leith of Hadith or to a temporary or in temporary / lasting. We have to change the way we perceived the all that's with these. Each letter spells out a word, and each word spells out a sentence. This Trinity is manifest. These 26 letters of the English sounds were revealed by the ancients to have an identity of relationship with themselves and to have a value of that, the same way a body does, has individual grouped, not just sexes, not just ages, not just areas. This is showing us the one identity of value progression attached to all things. Box things, where we need to have a scientific name for this. It is simultaneously that we need to have it individually grouped and together. It's because we needed to debate. But this is before debate. There's no place to debate because everyone's sick. Pathology of that's how you're trained to do it here and there. Suits and ties, guys in the armies that fight each other look the same exact way. Same uniforms, camouflage. The Campus Marcia system that was revealed. That's why Yin Yang goes in there. Most probably. They would teach like that because before criminal foreign influences, before modern nations, messengers, thank God for them, the Campus Marcia system that of this ancient republic, it was already taken over for not reasons, for reasons juxtaposed, discerned, but also not discerned, most probably, and or it is of the educational method. We're gonna have to take counter positions because it is recorded that and how formerly modern nations, all identities of the law, justified evidence reception that is not proper evidence reception. And they debate about that in relationship to how they write out what evidence reception. They leave out sequence racketeering. You know, then everyone goes through all things like that. There's nothing to it. They tell them, oh, it's a tough world. That's because it's made to keep who needs voice in free speech the most, prevented it distinctly and non-distinctly from anyone else who might try, and they have this recorded. So no matter who, if it's that person, if I can prove it's that person or not, that's already recorded on Facebook. That Anthony Agnew, he's already recorded, confessed. He mentioned the guy's name, Dingleberry or Dewberry. I never had a conversation with this guy. One time he came up to me, say he was going to have me strapped down. And I wasn't even acting up. They switched the guy. The guy was acting up. Is a guy recorded involved with on and off the Wethersfield town offices. One of the guys, young kid though. I don't know. He's older now. I mean, he was tied to one of the sex offenders' families, and this was them involved with more people then and now, worse than a principal sex offender that they hid, and that they recorded how motivated to and having been torturing him too, not to say anything about it. But I mean, he also with roles worse though. Now the courts forged names, switch names. They already did this name pretend other because they know they get the benefit of the doubt about their relationships to people's behaviors or how people's physical body movements were and things like that, and they just make that up. They falsify police reports and have been doing that and stacking databases into Branch, especially with New Britain courts, like with dozens of people tied to New Britain court and people on off their court, people that defend their identities. If we start and then if we then want to have a debate, if we have a debate out loud, then other nations say, well, look, because I have all these other nations here. And that's kept here and there. They're keeping them like a sensitivity, like a nervous system. Needed to hide what was their roles with what was sophistication here since before our founding parents were born with this pathology of homes tied to Webb House. Now they call it the Webb Stevens House. Now, this is around the corner from there, the corner of Church Street and Main Street. And a Hanson family, a Bruce Hanson, a Heather Hanson, and like three of her brothers. They're involved with database racketeering with a whole bunch of people with the Kerr family, a Jerry Kerr, a Mike Kerr, with an officer Jerry Miller. Officers from my town have been forging names and switching names for years. People with Washington D.C. involved with various natures of racketeering that you can't separate because they're involved with sequence shifts too. They're involved with the Leahy family that pretended to hold conversations with me about cases where his family's involved with racketeering with the defendants in those cases. Past that those defendants lost and one that was ongoing at the time of my father's death. That's when they were involved with this. These are people. It's all right if they say they have the. I mean, in other words, so the whole bunch of people tied to a Hartford hospital is involved with a whole bunch of nature racketeering with various natures of courts. Their whole families get sucked in. The people that work for them, and then everything stays evil. This is also what are ties between the crazy things that happen through time in the suburbs, like Wethersfield, right here. Now we're gonna go up the street from there, from the Church Street. Now this is also further recorded, confessed. This is right near the middle school and the library. Not far from there, and where the police station used to be. Not far from there. But but now they moved. But both those locations have these people you having involved with uses of identity, the grounds, relationship to our sequence nature. They have sequence racketeering and identity thefts, frauds, worse than just racketeering roles. Interbranch, dozens of names that I never had conversations with. They pretend passions and emotions. They affect fact cheaping nature unfolding too. When creating when they don't follow when they don't follow when they keep stacking, they use the right to lie when they don't know how to use the right to lie in courts, and then they use it in on the ground. So they're sequence racketeering with the reception of the laws, the way they repeat to other people. They coaching parents to lie about, pretend they had conversations, pretend with me, pretend me to fake locations, fake natures of relationships to themselves that I know and that I don't know at all. Like a Joshua Julian, I don't know him at all. He's recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with prosecutors and with judges and with a whole bunch of medical racketeering, overt criminal enterprises, all service people and stuff like that. With racketeering, also with people associated with a whole bunch of people associated with the former director of the FBI and with his co-defendants and with their roles with depositions and with spots in courts involved leading up to the World Trade Center attack. And then in the Trade Center attack context and since. And that's also with the same people associated with what was facilitated that, which is connected through each age of fact cheaping nature. They're playing originally still Forsaken, where we have the identity of what is delicate and what is stronger than anything as the identity of relativity. See, but as strong as you can make something, if you put all identity and value progressions at once, you only that if you do that without other ones involved, everything's calm, not just calm. This course of evolution, this identity of the ground, it's the value of it, the value between it and the identity of the ground we conceive as modern nation zoning laws means to them. Pathology of normal things, agreements, like with psychology. That's with all kinds of database racketeering lie progressions from there, physical delusions, that roles with sensibilities exploited originally and still as criminalization natures. So mandated law doesn't mean we have to sue the court to get them to relent from they recorded, confessed, demonstrated roles with falsifying police reports with multiple cities, police departments, also that are then locked in further and further roles, needing to hide uses of, you know, imagine of the Justice Department. Imagine put people what people would call for if someone stole someone, locked them in a room. Crazy things like that. So, like, in other words, these are people who have the right to investigate things, like with Normandy Heights near New Britain, near CCSU, involved with various natures on and off state Connecticut judicial branch offices, originally and still. In conjunction with this Anthony Agman, he lives right there around the corner from the Samuel Dix house. He has a brother named Berger or Daniel, and there's another one I don't know the name of. He's involved with. They also have a whole bunch of people like a two Mendez police. Older one attached me to fake conversation. I never had a conversation with him ever. Put fake words. Put me in quotes. Fake. Wethersfield Police Department. His brother and him on and off involved with that. With on and off the British Superior Court, his brother, and recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. These are people involved with people on my street from Sandy Hook and tied to the people on my street, associated them with racketeering uses of the kids of my grammar school, and as the ones then and now involved with that, with more people involved, worse than they put the principal sex offender in jail for. Note that I tried to report part of the stuff tied to. That's why they freaked out and faked things about me and put physical delusions. Also recorded. Again, because that's subject matter too, because they have doctors that attach me to fake conversations that never were. When I was in 3 days, forced into a triage. Then same people kept kept so I found out a lot about things though. Because I never had conversations, they put all fake conversation with me. Not even, and then when they did the second time, they walk up, ask me one question, walk away. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. In other words, I didn't answer the questions. And they put, so these are people involved with agencies, with doctors. They have conspiracy theories where they pretend people have conspiracy theories and said things about doctors. But I said things with theory. I said things that were not true to fake conversations with themselves. And when they get caught with it, that's why it's necessary to have the names of the judges because they're also recorded themselves involved with sequence racketeering methods where they're speaking things into records out of sequence criminally. And these are people with all kinds of physical delusions and racketeering methods bonded and that are subject matter. These are people stealing my life and a whole bunch of other people's lives too long, unless they're going to stay roles with them criminally foreign influenced. That's why this little pathology that forsaken people with this with the and the means to it. These aren't standards that our founders. These are standards that were forced to be the pathology since before cars on our founders. So at that corner house, these are people, a bunch of people with all the departments at CCSU through time maintained involved with racketeering on off child campuses. The only people that are the only identities of counters to things are originally and still used to further them to maintain remote control since before computerized definitions of that uses of all the locations, areas, and states of each nation. And by having that self-value, it's simultaneously through what each identity of age is longing truly is. Not these jobs. It's all right when people want to have debate, but someone who wants to point out, oh, now I know sequence shifts. Now I know they just make everything up into branch and that will never follow mandated law. See, everyone misses this. This could be how it's sustained. That's why it's important to understand that and how the actual recorded motivations too are recorded for courts for human trafficking rules. Very subtle. Also overt. WFSB, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They were involved with police with locations next to them who are involved with database racketeering, mail crimes, wire crimes, overt criminal enterprises juxtaposed. And this human trafficking. Then they pretend people make conspiracy theories by having whole fake conversations with me about my family too. No, these are people using their own kids, recorded using their own kids with former Mayor Governor Malloy to hide their life progression because they were involved with database racketeering when they were kids. Whole bunch of federal criminals, also ones that were co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, Also as people have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people tied to a Dr. Brendan Leahy, his son Brendan Leahy, also his other women in their family involved with the triage. I never had a conversation with their pretended other. Also with the Lombardo family, also involved with racketeering with foreign and domestic medical families that are victims. So they want to keep everyone having to speak. They want to pretend the courts aren't being the ones being told on because they want to keep everyone's reaction nature collusion with their sequence racketeering. They want to speak about someone yelled. They want to speak about behavior out of sequence. These are people involved with preventing people peaceful means to speak peaceful. Even kids between their parents, because the tactics they use here. These are people involved with formal drug racketeering interstates, worse than interstates, as the ones with racketeering with the qualities of other drugs, the identities of the agencies, the uses of their family members, the identities of boys and girls this way, because they want to have their things unfold to courts that are all identities of, you can't defend that and afford logic that's not criminal insidious nature, speaking about positive science, liberated once at last, free speech. We let not go the finite. There are proofs that Martin Luther King would want us to demonstrate that he was going to come back and teach about the order of the finite. Because if you don't understand how this is like this little finite, this is bigger than it's finite. But where we can make it a finite, and we have to know that simultaneously, like treatments of black, it was specifically to keep quality of fact, treatment nature being fought about. That's the nature of fight where everyone likes it and wins. See, but we have that. And see, this is also where they have this identity. Each identity of the branch needs to hide life progressions, needs to hide from and value hurt. All that are using the pseudo positive, offensively charged and pretending it's other because of elections. Almost, and all exceptions are engineered through this, specifically to be a breaching screen. Excuse me. Everyone identity of negative value nature progression, all parts of the body of humanity's identity of value progression, self-value, blaming the real causes of their identity of value progression on other things other than themselves. This method came from before modern religions. The nature of sophistication of the republic for which we stand in its campuses, it was a concentrated value. We could use correlation. We have sequence racketeering. For example, media are and are not lawyers. They're the retired prosecutors and lawyers of CNN, sources. They're involved with sequence racketeering as victims, but as victim predators. If you try to ask, so I'm not trying to say be pejorative. CNN, I'm trying to ask, will you help? Because you guys are insulated, and it is necessary to me to have this recorded online because of their wire crime methods. Their uses of courts to fake recorded things into databases while they are recorded self-valuing that have their roles with that having been through time against each age of fact chief nature, involved with the campuses of each age of fact chief nature. Whole bunch of people associated with the Morrow family were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with it, Mr. Abruzzi, and with O'Brien family, also with doctors, foreign and domestic, and military, foreign and domestic, associated with racketeering with Sandy Hook, Newtown, with the courts, and with the police forms. They have people online charged with passions and emotions, dishonest and hurt, used as weapons. We're being prevented calm means to say things. They have they have the New Britain Superior Court record the Facebook police and the state's attorneys and the programs of like DACA involved with them with all natures of racketeering, not legal. Well, how could you know? Because they're not because they're involved with racketeering in courts leading up to and in the trade center attack contracts right before the trade centers were taken out. It was proven afterwards. Post-dated documents had been post-dated from inside the court and presented to the panel of judges late. That was proven after. That led to a 2006 part of a case /S with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. His federal criminal co-defendants had kids in my grade that were involved with this racketeering too. They stacking names that I had nothing to do with. All exceptions. I never had a conversation, never bullied him, never had anything to do with him. Anthony Agman sat across from me in a algebra class. He admitted that online. Now, it's not. That's also people with a whole bunch of people with the Kerr family and associated with them recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with judges retired and standing. Chris Cullen, I only met one time in my life. He self-recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them also, with this former mayor Gold and his daughter Debbie Gold, with database racketeering and with sequence racketeering on and off campuses, intercities connected through time, and their exploitations on and off campuses. Bad. So we have agencies involved with them all along routes, like right by the state judicial branch office. But Anthony Agman's right down the road. If you follow that road down, the house is on Church Street. All recorded involved with the house on my area, with the extended family members of Phil Cololo. Also with these two Mendez police, with police equipment racketeering worse than the principal they put in jail for crimes with the kids. They hid worse then. They just lie about what's recorded over the phone. This is also why it's inseparable from the roles with and as people that were involved with confessed, demonstrated, and recorded wire crimes, uses of phenomena with the early forms of the wireless phone. All that now. See, everything's degraded. Oh, we have to do it for money. We have to degrade the laws for this, for that. It's complex litigation. So we have to leave. We have to have the identity of what we have to counter what was made self-value, because then that's defended, and that's a maintained self-manifest. Self-value can't defend its treatments of positive and of sequence nature, where and as and how. Right now, there are the answers to prevent what is worse than able to anticipate. That's going to happen. It does happen bad. Self-value, you guys are breaching tools. Each modern nation, states, areas, local, every location. You guys are victims. You guys are, everyone. But you guys are blaming it on the wrong things, but we only have so much time, so we leave it to that expert. We need it all encompassing. That's why we have to have Now we have to have, we make the, like, we have to have, we can make it a game. If all nations do this at the same time, and people will help. In other words, we're gonna give reliefs, make nations show each other that they can relax, and they can put that energy that is saved from that. That's real energy too. That's real time, which is timeless energy. It means